So first, your podcast, Patient Journey Pioneers. Just a little bit, what is the show about?
Sure. So, Patient Journey Pioneers is a video podcast series, just like we're doing now. I actually use the same platform as you do, Riverside. And we basically host top digital healthcare executives to share insights on the patient journey, mainly digital patient journeys. And they also share their insights and roadmaps for healthcare organizations who are really paving the way and bringing the patient journey to new heights. So, whether it's strategies, challenges they're facing, this ever changing ecosystem and tech advancements, how are they really implementing all that into healthcare? So that's in a nutshell.
So take us back to how and why the company decided that, hey, let's do a podcast. That's going to be a valuable thing to do. And alongside that, kind of how you got involved with it and what kind of experience you brought to the project.
Sure. So I'm actually, as field marketing lead, I oversee all of our events and participation at conferences, whether it's booths, offsite events, client events, webinars. And so podcast really went right into that. While I was at an event called HIMSS, which is a very established healthcare conference last year, my boss and I were like, okay, it's time. Podcasts are very trendy. Let's hop on that wagon. But more so, the timing was perfect for us specifically as a company. Reason number one was we sensed that Hyro was uniquely positioned in the right field at the right time, actually, to establish ourselves as a thought leader. So, thought leadership is goal number one. On one hand, everyone is buzzing about AI, generative AI, large language models, digital innovation in healthcare. They're hot topics. And Hyro happens to be at the forefront of all of that, right? Conversational AI, winning numerous awards in the space as the number one adaptive communications platform. So that was number one.
What role does the podcast play in your marketing lineup?
First of all, I gotta be honest. That's what we're here for. I love telling the sales team when they're in discussions with middle funnel or certain accounts that we're targeting. I love saying, that guy was on the podcast. You should mention that. They know
Mm,
Hyro. We've cultivated this connection. And I love the fact that the podcast speaks to people about Hyro, but from a non salesy or non pushy
yeah.
angle. And just really, we're there to provide valuable content for the audience.
I think a lot of people might hesitate and be like, how are we going to get people to come on this thing?
Mhm.
So, like, why do you think people say yes? How does that work?
Number one is the nomination strategy that I really think works well and people should use. As I mentioned, after each episode, I have folks nominate their peer or whoever they think is making waves in the space. And then I use that kind of sound bite, or I use just the name of the guest to say, hey, Ed, you'd be a great rock star for our next Patient Journey Pioneer episode. Another thing is to very briefly explain what your episode is about and to show them what value it can bring. So if I'm speaking to a director of digital transformation at a huge healthcare organization, this is their chance to highlight what their recent projects are and showing why they're cutting edge and why they're like leading the way in
Mhm.
digital innovation. And so I see it as a very big win for them.
So once you've gone through that process, right? You invite the folks, they come, you have a great conversation, you're building this relationship and learning all about them. Then when that's done,
Mhm.
what comes next?
I'll follow up and say, thanks so much. I took a selfie with them, or thumbs up selfie. And then I write, I'll share pictures with you once I get married. And then I touch base and I say, hey, just wanted to share these wedding pictures, and they become true friends. Or
Yeah.
another example I have is I'm a McKinsey alumni. And so one of my previous guests is also at McKinsey right now. And we had a great conversation and we're friends now. And I was building a huge booth for one of our conferences. And I really wanted to just run my idea and messaging by someone who gets it, who gets marketing, digital
Yeah.
innovation, and healthcare, and how to speak to our IC. So I asked her for 10 minutes of her time. We got on a call. I was like raw and genuine about it. And I was like, what do you think about this messaging? We worked through it. And honestly, that brought us to a really great tagline that we used that everyone got. And I was just like, thanks so much. Maybe I'll send her like a cute monkey to her homes to give to her dog or her kid. And that's just and then I see her at an event, and that's how you really cultivate these ongoing relationships.
What's a takeaway for our listeners, for anyone listening who's maybe thought about podcasting or their companies? Should we, shouldn't we? I don't know. What's your advice to them?
I would say number one, define your purpose. Make sure you're not doing a podcast just to say that you're doing a podcast, because it does
Mm,
call for some ownership and kind of owning up to that purpose. So what is it for? Who is it for? What is your title going to be? Make sure that your title makes sense and tells the story right away. Have a one liner that my VP marketing is so good at writing, just to get the message across of what the value is that you'll be getting from this podcast. I would say create realistic expectations and a well-defined timeline, because it takes months to get a podcast going if you really want to do it the right way.